I was making $500,000 in secret when my husband asked me for a divorce. He said he didn't want a wife who didn't work. Ethan placed the divorce papers on the kitchen table during breakfast. He didn't even look up from his phone. "I need someone ambitious," he said flatly, "not a stay-at-home wife playing with crayons all day." My crayons were a $380 professional illustration set and a drawing tablet I had paid for myself, but I just smiled and signed every page. See, for the past 6 years I had been publishing children's books under a pen name, R.K. Bennett. Last year alone I made $200,000 in royalties, and I was finalizing a streaming adaptation deal worth another $300,000 upfront. Ethan had no idea. He never asked about my little hobby. 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized, he moved in with Vanessa. Vanessa had been my college roommate, the one who used to envy my apartment, my car, my husband. Now she had 2 out of 3. They even bought the house Ethan and I used to share. He never changed the locks. I still had my key, but I wasn't petty enough to use it. I didn't need to. I moved into a downtown penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows and went back to working on my 7th book. 3 months passed in silence. Then, one Saturday at 6:04 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Ethan, can you take Lily today? Vanessa has a spa appointment and I have to work. Please." Lily was his 6-year-old daughter from his first marriage. He wanted me to babysit on my free weekend. The audacity was almost impressive. I said yes, because Lily wasn't responsible for any of it, and if I'm honest, I had always cared about her. She arrived with her unicorn backpack and a messy ponytail. We made chocolate chip pancakes. She laughed when I got flour on my cheek, then she pulled a book out of her bag. Mine. The newest one. The one that had hit #1 on the New York Times bestseller list 2 weeks earlier. "Aunt Mia," she said slowly. "Do you know this author? She has your last name." I kept my face calm. "That's my pen name, sweetheart." Her jaw dropped. "Wait. You're R.K. Bennett?" "The R.K. Bennett, yes." "Oh my God, Vanessa talks about you all the time. She says you're the biggest children's author right now." I had to press my lips together to stop myself from laughing. "Does she?" "She bought all your books last month. She keeps them on the coffee table and tells everyone she's obsessed with you." I turned away so she wouldn't see my smile. "She even printed your book tour picture and put it on the fridge." Vanessa, the woman who mocked my crayons, now she had my photo on her refrigerator. "Lily," I said gently, kneeling in front of her, "I need to ask you something important. You can't tell anyone that I'm R.K. Bennett." "Why?" "Because sometimes adults are complicated, and I need this to stay special. Just between us." She thought about it for a moment, then she held out her pinky. "Pinky, promise." I wrapped mine around hers. "Pinky, promise." We spent the rest of the afternoon drawing. She had real talent, confident lines, good instinct with color. At 5 p.m., Ethan came to pick her up. This time he rang the doorbell instead of honking. When I opened the door, he looked at me a little longer than usual. "You look different." "I'm doing well." Lily hugged me tightly. "Can I come back next weekend?" "Of course." Ethan cleared his throat. "Thanks for helping." I nodded. He still had no idea. That night, standing by my window overlooking the city lights, I made a decision. In 2 weeks there would be a major literary gala downtown. Normally, I avoided public appearances. I preferred privacy, but this time was different. I called my agent. "I want to confirm for the 23rd. There was a pause. "You? Publicly?" "Yes." "Are you sure?" "Completely." Vanessa had no idea that in 2 weeks, she would find out exactly who R.K. Bennett really was. And Ethan? He was about to learn that ambition doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like a woman quietly building an empire at her kitchen table. The 2 weeks before the gala felt strangely calm. Ethan asked me to watch Lily 3 more times. Each time I said yes. Vanessa was always busy. Lunches, appointments, social plans. She had stepped into my old life like it was a costume she'd been waiting to wear. Lily and I started building a routine. She would arrive Saturday morning, still half asleep, and we'd make breakfast together. Then we'd spend hours in my home studio. I showed her how to layer colors, how to sketch lightly before committing to darker lines, how to think about where light comes from. She absorbed everything. "Why do you know so much about drawing?" she asked one afternoon. "Because children's books need illustrations," I said. "I work closely with artists. I have to understand their language." "That's smart." "Thank you." On Wednesday before the gala, my agent called. "I have news." "Good or life-changing?" She laughed softly. "Both." The streaming platform confirmed $2 million for full adaptation rights, 3 seasons guaranteed. I sat down slowly on the edge of my couch. 2 million. 2 million. For a second I couldn't speak. 6 years of quiet work, late nights, doubt, Ethan walking past me while I sketched, barely noticing, and now this. When I hung up, I just stared at the skyline outside my window. He had divorced me because he thought I lacked ambition. Meanwhile, I had built a future he couldn't even imagine. Friday, Lily arrived quieter than usual. "What's wrong?" I asked while flipping pancakes. "Dad and Vanessa were fighting last night." "About what? Money?" "Interesting. Ethan always acted financially confident, stable, in control. How do you feel about that?" I asked gently. She shrugged. "I just want them to stop yelling." I pulled her into a hug. "Grown-ups don't always handle stress well, but it's not your fault. Ever." That afternoon, while she colored at the table, I checked social media. The gala promotion was everywhere. R.K. Bennett, first major public appearance in 3 years. Fans were excited, speculating, posting theories about why I had stayed private for so long. Then I saw it. Vanessa Red's daily. "I can't wait for the gala next week. R.K. Bennett is my favorite author. I own every single book." I stared at her profile picture. Vanessa, smiling in my old kitchen, my old house in the background. She had posted a photo of my book stacked neatly on the coffee table, caption, "Obsessed." I took a screenshot, saved it. Monday, my agent sent the event schedule: red carpet at 7:30, panel at 8:00, book signing from 8:45 to 10:00. Perfect. Tuesday afternoon, Ethan called. "Mia, I need a favor." "What is it?" "Vanessa got tickets to that author gala Thursday night. Can you take Lily?" The universe had a sense of humor. "Of course," I said calmly. "Thanks." "I owe you." "No," I thought. "You really don't understand how much." Wednesday, I went to a high-end salon. Cut, color, professional styling. I spent $12,800 without blinking. I bought a black silk gown that fit like it was tailored to me alone. Elegant, understated, powerful. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back, not because she looked different, but because she finally looked visible. Thursday evening, Lily stayed overnight with me. Ethan didn't ask questions. "Aunt Mia, where are you going?" she asked as I put on my earrings. "A work event." "Fancy work?" "Very fancy." "Can I come?" "Not this time, but I'll tell you everything." I hired a trusted babysitter to stay with her. At 6:50 p.m., my driver arrived. A sleek black car pulled up in front of my building. As we approached the venue, my stomach felt steady, not nervous. Ready. The ballroom was inside one of the most prestigious hotels downtown. Cameras flashed at the entrance. When I stepped out of the car, I heard it. "R.K. Bennett, over here." Flashes lit up the night. I smiled, posed, calm, professional. My agent met me at the entrance, eyes wide. "You look incredible. Social media is exploding. Is Vanessa here?" She glanced at her tablet. "Yes. Table 14. "Perfect." Inside, the ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and round tables dressed in white linen. Hundreds of guests, authors, editors, fans, and at table 14, there she was. Vanessa wore a tight red dress and had her hair perfectly styled. She was laughing with 2 friends, a glass of champagne in her hand. She hadn't seen me yet. I moved backstage to wait for the panel to begin. At exactly 8 p.m., the moderator stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome tonight's best-selling authors." The applause was loud. Then he said my name, R.K. Bennett. I walked out under the lights. I sat in the center seat. And I looked toward table 14. Vanessa was staring directly at me. At first, confusion, then recognition, then something else entirely. Her hand froze mid-air, champagne glass suspended inches from her lips. One of her friends whispered something to her. Vanessa didn't respond, she just kept staring. I gave her a small, polite wave. The moderator continued. For those who don't know, R.K. Bennett's series has sold over 18 million copies worldwide, and was recently acquired for a multi-million-dollar streaming adaptation. The room erupted in applause. Except table 14, Vanessa's face had gone pale beneath her makeup. The moderator turned to me. "You've been incredibly private over the years. Why step into the spotlight now?" I smiled. It felt like the right time to stop hiding. I've built something I'm proud of. I think it's okay to be visible. Applause again. Vanessa still hadn't moved. The panel lasted an hour. I answered questions about creativity, about children, about resilience. Every few minutes my eyes drifted back to table 14. She looked like someone watching her reality rearrange itself. When the moderator announced the book signing, the crowd immediately formed a long line. I took my seat at the signing table. And I waited. The line for the book signing stretched across the ballroom. Mothers holding copies with worn edges. Teachers. Young girls hugging books to their chests like they were treasure. I smiled at each one. Signed slowly. Made eye contact. This part was always real for me. It was never about revenge, it was about the readers. About the little girls who saw themselves in my characters. About the parents who told me my stories helped their children through difficult times. Then, about 40 minutes in, I saw her, Vanessa. She was standing alone in line. She held 3 of my books against her chest. Her friends were nowhere in sight. When she finally reached the table, her hands were shaking. "Mia," she said softly. "Hello, Vanessa." I replied in my calm public voice, "Would you like them signed?" Her eyes filled instantly. "I didn't know." "I know you didn't, all this time." "Yes," she swallowed hard. "You never told anyone, you never asked." The people behind her in line shifted impatiently. "Who should I make them out to?" I asked, uncapping my pen. She hesitated. "Vanessa." I opened the first book, for Vanessa, who always appreciated dedication and creativity. R.K. Bennett. I signed the second, for Vanessa. "Thank you for your enthusiastic support." The third, for Vanessa, "May you always recognize value when you see it." I closed the last book and slid them toward her. She read each dedication slowly. "This is cruel," she whispered. "This is honest." She looked like she wanted to argue, or cry, or both, but there were dozens of people watching, and I had a line waiting. "Next, please," I said gently. Vanessa stepped aside. She didn't look back. I continued signing for another hour, smiling, listening, thanking every reader sincerely, because this part mattered. When it was finally over, my agent handed me a bottle of water. "That woman in red," she said quietly. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. She kind of did. Friend, former roommate. And she married my ex-husband. My agent blinked. "Oh. Yeah." She let out a slow whistle. "You are terrifying in the most elegant way possible." I laughed softly. Before leaving, I checked my phone. 5 missed calls from Ethan. 3 texts. "We need to talk. Vanessa just told me everything. Call me back, Mia, please." I blocked his number. 2 minutes later, another message came from an unknown number. "I didn't know you were that successful. We can fix this." Blocked. I didn't feel anger. I didn't even feel satisfaction, just clarity. Outside, cameras flashed again as I exited the hotel. I gave a short, polished statement about upcoming projects, and thanked everyone for their support. When I got into the car, I finally exhaled. Back at my penthouse, Lily was asleep on the couch, curled up under a blanket. The babysitter smiled. She was perfect. I paid her generously and walked her to the door. Then I sat beside Lily and brushed a strand of hair away from her face. Her life was about to change, whether she understood it or not. The next morning she woke up cheerful. "How was your fancy work thing?" she asked. "It went well." She hesitated. "I heard Dad and Vanessa fighting when they came home. What did they say?" "Vanessa was crying. She said you lied to them. Dad kept saying he didn't know." I nodded slowly. "Sometimes people get upset when they realize they misunderstood someone. Did they misunderstand you?" "Yes." She thought about that. "Are you mad?" "No." "Why not?" "Because I don't need them to understand me anymore." Around noon, the doorbell rang. Ethan. This time, he looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. Shirt wrinkled. "Mia," he said, "we need to talk." "Lily's ready." He stepped forward slightly. "I didn't know you were R.K. Bennett." "I know." "If I had known..." "What? You wouldn't have left?" He opened his mouth, closed it. "That's not the point," he said weakly. "It is the point." Lily came running with her backpack. "Ready, Dad." He took her hand but didn't move. "You built all of that," he said quietly, "and I thought you were wasting your time. You didn't think I was capable of more." "That's not true." "It is." He looked like he wanted to argue but he didn't. Instead he lowered his voice. "I made a mistake, yes. A big one." "Yes." There was a long silence between us. Finally he nodded. "I'm sorry." "I believe you are." He searched my face for something. Regret, bitterness, invitation. He found none. "For you," I said calmly. This ended when you signed those papers, then I gently closed the door. That night, I received a call from my agent. You're trending everywhere, she said breathlessly. Major outlets want interviews. I'll consider the ones that focus on the work. Smart. And Rebecca, yes? I want to buy that house on Maple Ridge, the one for $3.2 million. Yes. In cash? Yes. There was a pause. I'll call the broker. When I hung up, I stood by my window again. 6 months ago, I was a wife signing divorce papers while being told I lacked ambition. Now I was negotiating multi-million-dollar deals and buying a mansion without blinking. But the strangest part, the money wasn't the victory. The clarity was. The house on Maple Ridge closed 5 days later. I signed the final paperwork electronically while sitting barefoot in my penthouse. Sunlight pouring across the hardwood floors. By the end of the week, I owned a 6-bedroom property with a private library, a studio filled with natural light, and a backyard big enough for Lily to run without worrying about traffic. 10 minutes away from the house Ethan now shared with Vanessa. Close enough to matter. Far enough to breathe. I moved quickly. Professional movers. Interior designer. Custom bookshelves installed in the study. A separate art space built just for Lily. Complete with a drafting table and neatly organized supplies. When she came over that Saturday, her eyes went wide. Is this a castle? It's just a house. It's huge. She walked slowly through the hallway, touching the walls like she wasn't sure they were real. Do you live here alone? For now. I showed her the art room. Her art room. When you visit, this is yours. She stared at the table, the pencils lined up by color, the blank sketchbook stacked neatly. For me? For you. She threw her arms around me so tightly I almost lost my balance. I love you, Aunt Mia. I love you too. Later that evening, Ethan came to pick her up. He stepped inside the doorway this time. Just one step, his eyes scanned the high ceilings, the staircase, the framed first edition covers hanging on the wall. You bought this? He asked quietly. Yes. With the book money, yes. He nodded slowly. I didn't know you were building something like this. That's because you never asked what I was building. He didn't argue. He just stood there, smaller than I remembered him. When he left, I felt lighter. Not because he saw it, but because I didn't care whether he did. A few days later, Vanessa showed up. Unexpected. No warning text. No call. Just her standing at my front door in jeans and a loose sweater, hair pulled back. No heavy makeup. Can we talk? She asked. About what? About everything. Lily was in the art room upstairs. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. You have 5 minutes. She looked different. Less polished. More tired. I didn't know, she said. About the books, about the money, I know. I thought you were just staying home. I was working. She wiped under her eye quickly. I was jealous of you in college, she admitted. You always had things together. People liked you. Things worked out for you. You slept with my husband. Her jaw tightened. I thought I won. And I didn't. There it was. No drama, just truth. Ethan hasn't stopped talking about you since the gala, she continued. He keeps saying he made a mistake. That's between him and his conscience. I'm sorry. I studied her face. For years I imagined this moment. Thought it would feel triumphant. It didn't. It felt distant. Your apology doesn't change anything, I said calmly, but I accept that you said it. She blinked. That's it? That's it? You're not going to humiliate me or expose me. I don't need to. There was nothing left to take from her. She nodded slowly and walked away. I went back inside. Lily was sitting at her table focused on a drawing. What did she want? She asked softly. To say sorry. Did you forgive her? No. Are you mad? No. She frowned slightly. How can you not be mad if you don't forgive her? Because being angry takes energy. And I'd rather use mine building better things. She seemed satisfied with that. A week later, Ethan called again. This time, I didn't block him. I need to talk to you about Lily, he said. My stomach tightened. What about her? She keeps asking to stay with you longer. Silence. She says she feels calmer there. She says you listen. I swallowed slowly. I care about her. I know. There was a long pause. I think we should talk about shared custody. The words landed heavier than any streaming deal ever had. Are you sure? I asked. I'm not failing as her father, he said quickly, but she's different with you. Better. I thought about the art room, about her pinky promise. About the way she hugged me like she was holding on to something steady. "We need to speak to her, Mom," I said carefully, "and make sure it's done right." "I know, but you're open to it?" He pressed. "Yes." He exhaled slowly like he'd been holding his breath. After I hung up, I sat at my kitchen island for a long time. Money had changed my life. But Lily was changing my heart. That night I started writing again. Not for headlines, not for interviews, but for her. A story about a little girl who found safety in a house filled with light. A girl who learned that value doesn't come from who leaves you, it comes from who chooses you. 3 months later, I turned in my 8th manuscript. It was different from the others. More personal. My agent called me after reading it. "This is your best one," she said. "It's deeper, I know. It's going to break records." She was right. Pre-orders exploded within days. The streaming platform increased their marketing budget. Interview requests multiplied. And through all of it, Lily started spending every weekend at my house. Then entire weeks during school breaks. Then, one evening, she asked quietly while we were washing dishes, "Can I live here?" The plate almost slipped from my hands. "Why would you want that?" "Because here feels like home." I didn't answer right away. Because for the first time in my life, I realized the biggest thing I had built wasn't an empire, it was stability. And someone small was choosing it. When Lily asked if she could live with me, I didn't answer right away, not because I didn't want her to, but because I understood what that question really meant. It wasn't about a bigger bedroom. It wasn't about the art supplies, it was about safety. "Have you talked to your dad about that?" I asked gently. She nodded. "He said we could think about it." That told me everything. Ethan wasn't fighting the idea, he was tired. A week later, we sat down together, the three of us, at my kitchen island. No lawyers yet, no paperwork, just honesty. Lily swung her legs under the chair, nervous but determined. "I love you, Dad," she said. "But I feel better here." Ethan looked like the words physically hurt him. "I know," he said quietly. He didn't argue. He didn't guilt her, and for the first time in a long time, I respected him for something. "We'll do this the right way," I said. Slowly, over the next month, everything shifted. Lily's mother agreed to modify the arrangement. She admitted that Lily seemed happier and more focused lately. There was no fight. It was almost peaceful. Ethan started coming by once a week to take Lily to dinner. He never stepped fully into the house, always just the doorway, like he understood he no longer belonged inside. Meanwhile, my 8th book launched. 1 million copies in the first week, industry record for children's fiction that year. The streaming platform wired the second installment of my deal. Interviews flooded in. Forbes, national morning shows, podcasts. I accepted a few, but only ones that focused on the work, not the divorce, not the drama. One evening, after Lily had officially moved in, she stood in her new bedroom staring at the pale pink walls. "So I really live here now?" "Yes, for good." "For good." She hugged me so tight I felt it in my ribs. "Can I call you Mom?" My throat closed for a second. "You can call me whatever feels right." She pulled back, serious. "I want to call you Mom." I nodded. "Then you can." Downstairs, my phone buzzed. "Ethan, I heard the numbers," he said when I answered. 1 million copies." "Yes, that's incredible." "Thank you." There was a long pause. "She calls you Mom now, doesn't she?" "Yes." Another silence. "She deserves someone who sees her," he said quietly. "And you?" "I'm trying to become someone better." That was the closest thing to growth I'd ever heard from him. A few weeks later, my agent called again. "You're not sitting down, are you?" "I am." "Good. A major studio just offered $5 million for film rights to the new book." I leaned back slowly in my chair. 5, yes. I didn't hesitate, except. The money felt almost abstract now. It wasn't excitement anymore. It was momentum. Around that same time, I met someone unexpected, Daniel Kim, executive producer for the streaming adaptation. We had dinner to discuss creative direction. It was supposed to be strictly business. It didn't stay that way. He was calm, intelligent. Divorced, no children. He listened when I spoke, actually listened. "You built all of this quietly," he said during our second dinner. "That takes discipline. It takes obsession," I corrected. "It takes belief." No one had ever framed it that way. When he met Lily, he didn't try to win her over with grand gestures. He asked her about her drawings. He treated her like her opinions mattered. That was enough. One Sunday afternoon, Lily looked at me while Daniel was helping her adjust a camera in the backyard. "You look different when he's here," she said. "How?" "Lighter." That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about that word, lighter. 2 years ago, I was signing divorce papers while being told I lacked ambition. Now I was a multimillionaire author, mother to a brilliant little girl, and building something new. Not out of revenge, but out of choice. Vanessa faded from the picture completely. She and Ethan split quietly a few months after the gala. No drama, no public scenes, just distance. Then one afternoon, while grocery shopping alone for once, I saw them, Ethan and Vanessa, arguing in the dairy aisle. He looked frustrated, she looked exhausted. I didn't hide, I didn't approach. I just walked past. Neither of them noticed me. And for the first time, I realized something important. I didn't feel superior. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt free. When I got home, Lily ran to the door. "Mom, guess what? My art teacher says I can illustrate the school's winter program booklet." "That's amazing." Daniel smiled from the kitchen. "She's talented," he said. "Really talented." I looked around the house. The bookshelves, the art room, the quiet. This wasn't a revenge story anymore. It was a rebuilding story. 6 months later, Daniel proposed. Simple. No cameras, just the three of us in the backyard. Lily cried harder than I did. Ethan attended the small wedding ceremony. He sat in the back row, alone. Afterward, he came up to me briefly. "I'm glad she has this," he said, glancing at Lily laughing with Daniel. "So am I." "You were never unambitious," he added quietly. "I know." And that was enough. 2 years after the divorce, my net worth crossed $40 million, but the number meant less to me than this. Lily thriving. A marriage built on respect, work that mattered, and peace. Not because Ethan lost. Not because Vanessa failed. But because I stopped shrinking myself for someone who couldn't see me. That was the real victory. Life didn't slow down after the wedding. If anything, it moved faster. Daniel and I settled into something steady. No games. No ego battles, no subtle competition over who earned more or who mattered more. He respected what I built. I respected what he did. Lily adjusted to calling him Daniel at first. Then, slowly, she started saying it with a kind of comfort that told me she felt safe. That mattered more than anything. My 9th book launched the following spring, another massive success. The film adaptation of my 8th book began production that summer. Behind-the-scenes photos circulated online, casting announcements, interviews with child actors talking about how much they loved the story. One night, Lily sat cross-legged on the living room floor watching an interview clip on TV. "They're talking about you again," she said proudly. Daniel looked at me with a small smile. "How does it feel?" "Normal," I replied, and it did. Success stopped feeling shocking. It felt earned. A few weeks later, my agent called with something even bigger. "A major entertainment company just made an offer for your entire catalog." "How big?" $20 million. I went silent. "For full universe rights," she continued. "Multiple films, series spin-offs, merchandise. Except..." She laughed. "I thought you'd say that." By then, the numbers were almost abstract. 20 million, 45 million net worth, headlines calling me one of the most influential women in publishing. But the real shifts were quieter. Lily started illustrating professionally for small publishers. Nothing massive. Just a few children's projects that showed her confidence growing. She was 9 now. Steady, secure. One evening, while helping her with homework, she asked something unexpected. "Do you ever miss your old life?" "No, not even a little." "Not even a second." She studied my face carefully. "Were you unhappy?" "Yes." "Did Dad make you unhappy?" "No," I said gently. "He just didn't see me." She thought about that. "Is that worse?" "In some ways." She nodded like she understood. A few months later, we attended a charity gala downtown. Daniel insisted I go. It supported literacy programs for underprivileged schools. As we entered the ballroom, cameras flashed like always. I barely noticed anymore. Then I saw him, Ethan. Not as a guest, as staff. He wore a black uniform, carrying a tray of champagne glasses. He saw me at the same time. For a split second, our eyes locked. There was no bitterness in his expression anymore. Just something softer. Recognition. Daniel followed my gaze. "Is that him?" "Yes." "Do you want to leave?" "No." I walked through the room like I always did. Steady, confident. During the event, Ethan passed our table twice. Professional. Polite. He didn't stop. At the end of the night while we waited outside for the car, he approached, Mia. Ethan. You look good. I am. He nodded. I heard about the deal. News travels fast. He gave a small, humorless smile. I used to measure people by income, he admitted. I thought that's what mattered, and now? Now I know I lost something priceless because I couldn't see past my own expectations. I didn't comfort him. I didn't attack him either. I hope you find clarity, I said calmly. Daniel opened the car door for me. As we pulled away, I looked back once. Ethan stood alone on the sidewalk. Not ruined, not destroyed, just living the consequences of his own blindness. When we got home, Lily was awake, waiting up. Did you see Dad? Yes. Was he okay? Yes. She seemed relieved. That's when I realized something else. This was no longer about proving anyone wrong, it was about building something right. 2 years later, another milestone, a national award for lifetime contribution to children's literature. I was only in my 30s. Standing on that stage holding the award, I looked out at the audience, Daniel in the front row, Lily beside him, clapping so hard her hands turned pink. I didn't talk about my divorce, I didn't mention betrayal. I talked about belief, about building quietly, about how sometimes the loudest ambition is the one no one sees coming. Afterward, Lily hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you, Mom. I'm proud of you too. Years earlier, I signed divorce papers while being told I wasn't ambitious enough. Now I stood in rooms full of people who respected my work, not because I humiliated anyone, not because I exposed secrets, but because I never stopped building. Even when no one was watching, that was the difference. Not revenge, not money, not fame, self-worth. And once you truly see your own value, no one can take it from you. Success has a strange way of rewriting how people remember you. 3 years after the divorce, articles no longer introduced me as the author who shocked her ex-husband. Now it was Mia Harper, publishing powerhouse, the creative force behind a $60 million children's franchise. The narrative had shifted. And I hadn't said a single cruel word publicly about Ethan or Vanessa. That was intentional. Lily was 12 when the first full-length film adaptation premiered. We attended the red carpet together. She wore a soft blue dress and refused heavy makeup. She wanted to look like herself. Daniel stood between us, calm as always. When photographers called my name, I pulled Lily closer. She inspired this one. I told a reporter simply, and it was true. The film was based on the book I wrote the year she moved in, a story about a girl who finds a home not because she's rescued, but because she's chosen. After the premiere, Lily leaned against me in the car. Dad texted, she said. What did he say? He said he's proud. Good, she hesitated. Are you? Of him? Yeah, I thought carefully. I'm proud that he didn't fight when you needed something different. That takes growth, she nodded. That was enough for her. Ethan had stabilized his life over the years. A smaller job, fewer big plans, more humility. He still saw Lily regularly. He never crossed boundaries. He never made scenes. Sometimes regret makes people quieter. Vanessa had moved across the country long ago. Once I received a short email from her. No drama, no jealousy, just a simple update about starting over in a new city. I replied with 2 polite sentences wishing her well. That was the end of it. My 10th book became the fastest-selling children's novel of the decade. By then the money was irrelevant. I had investments, a foundation supporting arts programs in public schools, scholarships in Lily's name. We weren't just earning, we were giving. One Sunday afternoon, Lily sat with me in the backyard. Do you ever think about what would have happened if Dad never left? She asked. Yes. What? I would have kept writing. But I don't think I would have grown, because you were shrinking. She was sharper than most adults. Yes. She leaned her head against my shoulder. I'm glad he left. It sounded harsh, but it wasn't. It was honest. Daniel joined us with lemonade. You two look serious. We're talking about alternate timelines, Lily said dramatically. He laughed. Well, I like this one. So did I. A few months later, we attended another charity gala. Different organization, same city. Ethan wasn't working at this time. He was a guest. Dressed well, not flashy. He approached our table during a break in speeches. Mia. Ethan. Daniel. They shook hands respectfully. Lily tells me about the new foundation. He said, it's impressive. Thank you. He shifted his weight slightly. I wanted to say something. I waited. When I asked for the divorce, I thought ambition meant visible hustle, titles, noise. I didn't understand quiet discipline. Silence settled between us. I understand now. He finished. I hope so. I replied calmly. He nodded. I'm glad she has you. So am I. This time, when he walked away, there was no heaviness, no unfinished sentence hanging in the air, just closure. That night, Lily stood in front of the mirror brushing her hair. Do you think I'll ever be as successful as you? She asked. You don't need to be as successful as me. But what if I want to? Then build something because you love it, not because you want someone else to regret underestimating you. She met my eyes in the reflection. Did you build all this because of Dad? No, I said firmly. I built it despite him. There's a difference. Years later, when Lily graduated high school, valedictorian, scholarship recipient, confident and kind, I watched her walk across that stage knowing something deep and steady. The empire mattered. The awards mattered. But this was legacy. Daniel squeezed my hand. She's going to change the world. She already has. After the ceremony, Ethan approached us quietly. She gets that strength from you, he told me. No, I said gently. She gets it from herself. I just made sure no one dimmed it. That was the real difference between the woman I used to be and the woman I became. I stopped dimming myself. I stopped explaining my ambition in softer words. I stopped shrinking to protect someone else's ego. And once I did that, everything expanded. The marriage, the family, the work, the impact. Money was never the point. Visibility wasn't either. It was about self-worth, and once you truly understand your value, you never beg anyone to recognize it again. 10 years after the morning Ethan placed those divorce papers on the table, I woke up before sunrise out of habit, not because I had to, because I wanted to. The house was quiet. Daniel was still asleep. Lily, no, not Lily anymore. Olivia was home from college for the weekend, her old bedroom now a mix of childhood sketches and university textbooks. She was 19. Studying visual storytelling and business. Her choice, not mine. I walked into my studio with a cup of coffee and looked at the wall of framed first editions. 14 books, 3 film adaptations, 2 series, a foundation that funded art programs in over 80 public schools, and a net worth that financial magazines still like to mention, even though I stopped keeping track. But that number never meant what people thought it did. Around 7 a.m., Olivia padded into the kitchen in oversized sweatpants. Mom, why are you always awake so early? Because I like starting before the world gets loud. She poured herself cereal and leaned against the counter. My professor asked us something yesterday, she said. He said, what moment shaped your life the most? And I said the day I moved in here. I stayed quiet. She continued, not because of the house, because that was the first time I saw an adult choose peace over pride. I blinked. What do you mean? You could have destroyed Dad. You could have embarrassed Vanessa. You had proof, money, fame. You didn't. I didn't need to. Exactly. She smiled. That's power. Later that afternoon, I had a meeting with executives about expanding my foundation internationally. After all these years, I still preferred small rooms over grand stages. Impact over attention. Daniel joined me for dinner that night. We sat on the patio, the garden lights glowing softly. Do you ever think about that morning? He asked. Which one? The divorce. I considered it. Not with anger, I said. More like gratitude. He raised an eyebrow. Gratitude. If he hadn't left, I might have stayed small, comfortable, quiet. You were never small. I made myself small. That was the truth. It wasn't Ethan's words alone that limited me. It was my willingness to accept them. A few months later, we attended Olivia's first gallery showing at her university. Her illustrations lined the walls, confident strokes, bold color, emotion without apology. Ethan was there too, older now, softer around the edges. He approached me near the refreshments table. She's incredible, he said. She is, he nodded. I used to think ambition was loud, he admitted. Now I think it's consistency. That's closer, he hesitated. I don't regret leaving because it hurt you, he said carefully. I regret leaving because I didn't understand you. That's something you had to learn on your own. He looked around at Olivia laughing with her classmates. You built all of this quietly. Yes. And you never tried to punish me, no. He exhaled slowly. That was mercy. No, I corrected gently. That was indifference. There's a difference. He gave a small smile. I deserved that. When Daniel and I drove home that night, I looked out at the city lights. So much had changed. And yet, The core truth remained simple. The biggest turning point in my life wasn't the $2 million deal, or the 20 million acquisition, or the award ceremonies. It was the moment I stopped asking someone else to see my value and started acting like I already knew it. 2 years later, Olivia graduated at the top of her class. She launched her own illustrated children's imprint under my company, not because I handed it to her, but because she pitched it, with numbers, with strategy, with confidence. Watching her present her business plan to investors, I felt something deeper than pride, peace. That night she hugged me tightly. "You never made me feel like I had to compete with you," she said, "because you don't. You just showed me what's possible." That's when it hit me fully. My story had never been about proving a man wrong. It had been about showing a little girl what self-respect looks like in real time. Years ago, I was a woman quietly earning $500,000 while being told I didn't work. Today, I am a woman who built generational stability, creative freedom, and a family rooted in choice, not validation. Money fades, reputation shifts, people come and go, but self-worth? Once you build it yourself, no one can take it, and that was the real empire all along.